If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the Filthy Capitalist option. As Sori says, $125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. $125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and then get mashed down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at vinsori@gmail.com, and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Yep. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is the community option. $1 at the gate gets you in at Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go in the village, facebook.com/Vin and Sori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 tier and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Buy our merch.
Buy our merch indeed. A child shall lead them.
To buy our merch.
Yes, dear listener. Yes, dear listener. Yes, dear listener. We are in the midst of a ultra stream.
The imperishable flames.
Imperishable flames, dear listener. They are a collective of musical genii who curate the best music that you've ever heard in your life. I got on tea. Furthermore, we are listening to another band. The name of this band is Vindensa, The Origin. The name of the song is A Point of No Return. Again, from the big homie Matt S. Vindensa is the brainchild of one Jeffrey Nablock. There's not a lot of info out there, but upon doing some research for this comment, I learned that the guy contributed some samples to Agalock's Marrow of the Spirit, one of my favorite albums, and the band supported Agalock on the tour for that album, so that's cool. Here's what we got from Wikipedia. Jeffrey Neblock has stated that one of the goals of the band is to preserve spirituality in music. Not to make religious music, but rather music with spirit and music for the spirit.
Okay, that's new. That's interesting.
Sit back, relax,
Yep.
and enjoy the ride. right, that was a complete
Ooh,
song.
boy. That song, I loved this one. Shoot. I definitely understand what they're saying about the spiritual. Did you shrink this for a reason? Is this okay?
Yeah, go for it.
I definitely think that they did that, where they like encapsulated some spirituality into it. Not religion, but spirituality. Because I forgot that that was said, but I definitely felt like, man.
Yeah, this song explains to me so clearly why we need religion.
Oh. Okay, tell me why. I liked it too, Sadie. What do you mean? I think I got something different from the song than you did. What?
This person is killing themselves to set themselves free so they can be
That
pure.
Is not what I got.
Pure infinite energy to be one with the universe.
That's not what I got.
Leave this body behind. Leave this body
Yeah,
behind.
I was thinking of like astral projection and like that, like letting yourself like leave to like experience something like in a spiritual level. Like, you know how when you can kind of like
falling softly upon my lifeless body, the wreckage of an earthly endeavor,
yeah,
flesh and bone.
For me, I got that as
His
like this
lifeless
person.
body is a wreckage.
You know, I got what I got from that falling softly upon my lifeless body. I got as like the person was like at a bad point, and so they looked like they were lifeless because they were at such a bad point in their life. Not that they literally were. And the wreckage of the earthly endeavor was like the wreckage from what their actions and everything brought them to, and then flesh and bones that were left behind because they only served as restraints. I always make everything a relationship song. That I took as they were leaving somebody behind because that person wasn't healthy or good for them. That's literally what I got.
Who's they?
The person that was going off into the stratosphere. I just felt like they were like letting go of. I totally see how I misread this song, but that's.
He says flesh and bones that were left behind because they only served as restraints.
Right. Yes.
That is a philosophy of the body. That's a Gnostic.
Yeah. I just
that's a Gnostic philosophy of the body. That
yeah,
the body
I can see that.
A prison that you need to escape from.
Yeah, I can see that now. Carbon constructions intended to bind. Our sullen hearts become like cages.
We're carbon-based life forms.
Yep.
But there's a because in the lyrics. It says, falling softly upon my lifeless body, the wreckage of an earthly endeavor, flesh and bones that were left behind, because they only served as restraint.
Yeah. Again, I took that as somebody deciding that someone else was only holding them back, and so they were letting that person go. That's what I got from it. But I totally see
flesh and bones that are left behind.
Yeah, like a human being, like you leave
carbon
somebody.
constructions intended.
Yes, babe, I see what you're saying. I totally do. I just read something else into it.
Starbound eyes rendered blind. See, like we're supposed to go up to the stars, but we've been blinded by this is just pure Gnosticism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that now.
But tonight I will leave my body.
Again, I thought that was astral projection.
Before ere sunrise, I leave the curses behind.
Yeah.
So he's not talking about temporarily astrally projecting. He's talking about leaving the cursed physical world behind because he's going up to the stars. Leave the body behind. Leave the body of an earthly. This is pretty.
I know. I see it now.
SubhanAllah. But this is why you need religion.
Mm-hmm.
This is the reason you need religion because, look, we just talked about this in the previous song. Kids love to explore, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And there's something very romantic about that. Like, go, child, go free into the wilderness. The problem is that there's bears in the wilderness. The problem is that there are rivers and shit, and you're like, I don't know if you know how to swim, bro. The other thing is that in the wilderness, there's people that like set up little camps and shit. And if they run into some nice, sweet, fresh little child, you never see you again. So like, because we're stuck in a materialist world, and because people have been force-fed materialistic assumptions from all the centers of authority in their life, when they discover spirituality, they go, oh my God. And they finally realize that their teachers and all the rest of them have been lying to them this entire time. And now we've got access to this crazy new world and this crazy new map. And it's like, whoa. And those people make the sad error that because they validate the reality of the spiritual world, that is some place now that they should be able to traverse and travel without a map, without a compass, and without anybody going before them and telling them there may be pitfalls here. All of this shit sounds really beautiful, but I promise you, if this is the way you leave this world, you're not going to any stars. I promise you that. If you leave the world with this philosophy and this way, you're not going nowhere where you want to be. Now listen.
Yikes.
I've had now you guys know me. I've lost an inordinate amount of people to suicide. And so on the one hand, I understand our community. We like to romanticize things. I get it. And maybe many of us, it's just like, look, man, not every rapper who talks about shooting people and killing shit is really, really about that life. And the vast majority of people that listen to that shit have never done that shit in their life. And I do think a lot of that's the same thing with metal. Like a lot of us play around with the concept of suicide, but if you know someone that's actually completed that shit is not romantic at all. And I appreciate that this band understands that there is something called the spiritual world and that there is consciousness after death. But how the fuck do you know that if you do some dumb shit like that to yourself with the premise that your physical body is some sort of prison that you need to escape from? Who told you that if you do some dumb shit like that, you're going to go off into some wonderful existence of pure consciousness and all the rest of it?
Yeah.
Who told you that? Why do you believe that? And does it make sense to you? Would you ever do this to a child? Would you ever send a child off into a wilderness fraught with, yes, that has moss and all this other shit, and also has Sammy, the fucking child molester, and you're gonna send this baby to crawl out and enjoy and explore nature, and in 3 days you're gonna find half of his skull inhabited with maggots and stuff.
My God.
So if you are a materialist and you have now come into the glorious reality that there's a spiritual world, there is a sense in which you've been now born again mentally. Excellent. But if you're just now born into that, then you should probably get a mom and a dad to carry you and guide you around and stuff. It's like our boy Chesterton said. Chesterton said, look, bro, if you're traveling a road and you see a bunch of guardrails, you better make fucking sure you know why those guardrails are there before you take them down. So it may be that systematizing religion has manifested itself in some pretty ugly ways in the physical world. I agree. But it may also be that the wisdom of the sages, like for example, all of our ancestors, doesn't matter if you have a Negroid or a European ancestry or an Asiatic ancestry, all of our primary ancestors told us about a global flood. Now, you can do what you will with that. My point is, there are some pretty consistent themes throughout the ancients and throughout the ages. And I think that we're entering into now a new sort of understanding of consciousness where we're going to be, do what you will with it, dear listener, in the next 3 to 8 years, interfacing with non-human intelligence is like it's going to be undeniable. And I hear a lot of people saying things like, I just don't know what the Christians are going to do. The Christians are going to freak out, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, what the fuck are these people talking about?
We've been talking about
We've been telling y'all that there are disembodied beings who can communicate telepathically, who may or may not have our best interests at heart. We've been said that. Yep. The difference is when we start interfacing with those beings, we have a grid by which to test those individuals. Do you?
Yep.
Because forever the materialists were telling us that unless we see something, it ain't real. And unless we can handle it in the lab, it ain't real. So now we're talking about these beings and these vehicles that are defying the laws of science. And you've got people swearing before the United States of Congress and the penalty of perjury that we have interface with non-human intelligences.
We have one question for those intelligences.
You better wait. You better.
Who is Jesus?
I'm just saying. I'm just saying, like, if there are hostile intelligences in the world, right? And I think all of us can relate to this because look at the propaganda job that's been done to us over the last 6 to 8 years. I'm not even talking about even choosing a side, bro. Like, But you remember Saddam Hussein. He took all those babies in Kuwait off a ventilator. He didn't do that shit, but our country lied to us, right? Like, oh, the ghost of Kiev. It was literally a fucking Call of Duty screen cap that they used to cycle out. And then the Israel, oh, there's 40 beheaded babies in Gaza. Like, if we lie to each other in warfare, what makes y'all believe that that's not happening at the higher level? That's all I'm saying. Like, that's all I'm saying, guys, is that on the one hand, I'm not a fan of romanticizing suicide because I can fill up two hands of people that I've lost to suicide. Like, I almost went out that way. And so, like, this shit is real for me, man. Like, it's real for me. Like, I've literally, like, so I hate anything that romanticizes suicide and makes it sound all sweet and dreamy. But on the other hand, at the end of the day, I am a Christian, and I do believe in consciousness post this little earthly visit. But nah, hell no, your physical body ain't no restraint. That's not a restraint, bro. Your physical body is a gift from God. It's the way, because we're currently on a physical platform, it's a way for you to express the invisible aspects of your nature, man. It's being in this physical body on this platform is a beautiful thing, and it's a wonderful privilege. Your body is not a trap, and it's not a prison. What sucks about being in your body is you're feeling the effects of sin and the curse. So what sucks is the curse, and we need to get to the root of the curse. Mm-hmm. We can't blame our body for that. That's not how that goes. It's like blaming your car alarm for going off instead of saying, maybe there's a thief. Maybe that alarm is going off because something wrong is still happening. So, no, it sucks being in our physical body. Not because there's anything wrong with physicality or bodies, but because the world is under a curse. That's why.
Yep.
And the way we overcome that curse, yes, is through a death, but not your death.
Right.
Somebody already died to break the curse.
Yep.
So what we do now is we work to relieve people of their bodily and emotional suffering. We don't create romanticized ideas of people killing themselves and giving people in a horrible economic situation, which we're all currently in, with a bunch of unrest, a nice fucking lullaby to send them all to sleep. Man, fuck that shit. I'm not with that shit at all, bro. Which I know is not anybody's intention or whatever. I can objectively tell you that there's a lot of beauty in this music, which is the reason why I'm using very strong words and very strong language. I am not offended by anybody who selected it. I'm not affected by the band. I'm not not angry at any of that shit. But I do want to speak very clearly about this shit because I use very progressive language, but at the end of the day, I'm an evangelical Protestant Christian, man. Mm-hmm. And this shit is real to me. It's not a concept. It's not an idea. So if I truly, truly believe that there is a place where you will be ontologically aware and sentient, more sentient than you are now, and more separate from God than you are now, hell no. I would not be a friend if I did not warn you of that shit. Now, if Christianity is all hocus pocus and dumb, then fucking just ignore me and move along. But I can't let a song like this go and not say some shit. That's some fucking Marshall Applewhite. That's some we're gonna drink a bunch of Kool-Aid and get out of here shit. Like,
oh my god, I completely misread the song.
Hell no. Hell no.
It was definitely spiritual, I thought, but I definitely took it a different direction. But I agree with you. I think that in and of itself is a trap. If you start seeing your own body. The Bible says that our body is the temple of God. So it's a place for God's spirit to dwell. It's not like a trap to keep us trapped into. You're probably in the wrong religion if you feel like your body's a trap.
Yeah, I don't understand the romanticization of suicide. People do it with Kurt Cobain. Look, I believe there were you guys go back all the way for 5 years ago. This is way before all the UAP shit. I used to call demons malevolent intelligence or hostile intelligence or dark intelligences. Look, all the first year I used to talk about dark intelligences. That's how I would code demons for modernists. Okay? But if you don't believe that there is an archetypical spirit or consciousness that pushes people toward death in our culture, I don't know what to tell you. There are major in-your-face segments of the culture that are dedicated solely to the celebration of death and killing. You look at hip hop with drill rap. You look at our culture with metal and the romanticization of suicide. There is a culture of death. If you look at right-wing evangelicalism in the churches, it's all about war, and the American warfighter and blah, blah, blah. There is absolutely a malevolent, intentional spirit and collections of consciousnesses that are encouraging death in our country for sure. For sure. And once in a while, I do think it needs to be called out. So I understand that everybody was vibing to it. I have no problem with the artistic side of it. But the theology, at the end of the day, I'm a Christian.
Wrong. Yeah, yeah.
So that shit is not romantic at all. No, we do not romanticize death. The scripture says that the last enemy to be destroyed is death. Death is an enemy in Christianity. The reason that the cross is a symbol of Christianity is because we are mocking death.
Right. It's
right?
followed up by resurrection.
Where is your victory? Death, where is your sting? So in the Christians, in the first Christians, we said the worst death could do to us was bring us to a cross. And our guy went there and exposed them to open shame, it says in Colossians 1. So I wear cross symbology to mock death. Because we're saying this is the worst you had to offer, and our guy took care of you in one day. We're good. Okay. So yeah, there's a culture of death over this country, and it has absolutely seeped into the church. Okay, all the bullshit that's happening right now in Gaza would not be possible were it not for evangelicals, not Roman Catholics.
Yeah.
Because Roman Catholics didn't come up with the crazy theology that said that, whatever. Not Eastern Orthodox. Evangelical, our team. So when I say the spirit of death, of course, Planned Parenthood, of course, we know. But I'm talking across the board, whether it's drill rap, where it celebrates death, where it's black. You've got entire genres of metal that are dedicated to death. And fuck all that shit, bro.
Ian, it's not the death on the cross that made it the worst death. Like crucifixion isn't necessarily the worst death that there is out there. It's what was experienced by Christ on the cross. So when we talk about God, we talk about the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And those three persons are so intertwined. They are one being. They have one will. They have one everything that they do. And they have perfect love and perfect harmony between the three of them as they are the one being. And so you have this situation going on. Then when Christ comes to earth and he lives out his life and then he goes to the cross, death on the cross was separation from his Father, because God was giving him the wrath that every single person is going to have to experience if they don't have Jesus as their Lord and Savior. So when he was on the cross, he experienced that separation, which is why he said, Father, Father, why have you forsaken me? And it's also why in the garden before he went, he said drops of blood were coming from him because he was under such stress, and he asked the Father, said, is there another way? If there's not another way, let your will be done. But then he went to the cross, and when he went to the cross, he experienced that complete separation from his Father. And in that moment, in that time when he was under the wrath of God, that was where we were gaining our liberty. And then after he died, he was buried, and 3 days later he rose from the dead, thereby conquering death. And so death was the last enemy that is destroyed, because now if you're with him, you're going to, we're all going to rise, but what are you going to rise to? Like after death, there is something else, and it's either with Christ or it's whatever it's a little bit, people have different ideas of what it is, but either way it's described as torment and everlasting. So, I mean, however that squares itself, like it's not a good place.
I got a good friend that's in a lot of pain, and she was talking about like calling that play. And I said, how do you know that when you wake up, you won't be in a worse place than you are right now? She said, I don't. I said, well, don't fucking make no moves until you know for sure. So, we all have fun. We all love each other, man. But like, there are people, how do I say this? No, I ain't gonna say that. Okay. Okay, as far as the artistry in the song, I think I made it pretty clear. Like, don't follow those lyrics because you'll end up in an eternal hell. Okay. But as far as like the song itself, a couple people were saying it was dragging on a little bit because it didn't kind of go anywhere. But I thought that was kind of the intention of the song, so that didn't really hit it for me as far as like hurting the song. I couldn't. I was very, very happy that I had the lyrics because otherwise I couldn't have made it out. So.
Really? Because it kind of dragged for you?
Well, no. I don't know if my headphones or what, but I kind of couldn't. I couldn't like really discern much of the lyrics without that. I don't know.
Oh man, for me,
whoa,
like,
holy
I mean,
shit.
But yeah. Exactly.
I'm blown away right now. I agree, but holy shit, controller, okay. I got this from the Shack, by the way. I was about to say, I was like, well, let me find out.
Yeah.
I was like, let me find out.
Yeah, I mean, I love the song.
Holy shit, Delaney's gonna take over the world. So many bands are riding on the coattails of dead musicians who took their life. Ooh, talk that shit, Delaney. No, Delaney said some gang shit. She said, I think it's crazy how so many bands talk about depression, suicide, and self-harm, especially emo bands, but now they're all old men who taught teens to think depression and self-harm was cool.
Holy shit, I never thought of it that way.
Just
oh
like
my gosh.
Just like them boys on the street, bro. And they'd be like, oh yeah, do all this gang shit. They'll be the first one to hand you the gun. And then you look at their paperwork. All they got is like petty larceny and shit. They don't got no gun shit on their file, but they handed you the gun when you were 14, though.
Yep.
Some of your friends are gone. Them niggas still around. They're in their 40s and shit now. You got a friend doing life and shit. He wasn't about that life. It's the exact same thing. These dudes got on here. They saw corn. They're like, holy shit, let me just copy this shit. Nigga, you grew up in the suburbs and shit. Your whole life was perfect. Your mom and dad were there the whole time. You had 3 squares a day. You went to a fucking private school. You fucking got a 401k by the time you was 17. And now you out here talking all this shit about how you want to jump off a building because you want to make yourself famous. Now here you are, 45. You got like 58 dead kids on your conscience. God's going to fuck you up when he sees you. That's what Delaney was saying. Shout out to Delaney. It's a 9.1 for me.
Do you think that if somebody takes their own life, everybody that they influence the negative that somehow that goes on there?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. That's why I am the way that I am sometimes. Like, I'm on the internet. I'm like, wait a second now. Somebody, because she did shit 4 or 5 years from now.
Right, yeah.
You know, I had a friend, man, they lost a baseball game. He went home and killed himself, dude.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like, people don't understand about suicidal people that it takes, it's just one little thing and one little circumstance and one little bad moment and it's over with. Rest in peace.
But I think that, we talked about that before, like the whole, like, pursue your happiness idea, diligently pursue happiness, because if we talked about making decisions that bring you to certain points. So like if you know that you're predisposed to thoughts like that or feelings like that or ideas like that, then you have to stay away from the things that kind of coddle those ideas and kind of make them seem like, romanticize them, I guess, in your own mind. If you're like, well, I'm not going to do it, but let me just think through it and then feel good about the idea of it, then it's also going to bring you to a negative place and it's preparing you more for that decision. So it's better to stay as far away from it as we can, just like pursuing happiness diligently. Like sometimes you got to diligently get away from certain mindsets because they're very destructive to you and you are also, predisposed to, thinking like that.
I hope if someone's in that place, they find peace. If they keep going or if they don't, I hope they find peace. And that's the ultimate thing. In Hebrew, peace is shalom. And it doesn't just mean cessation of conflict. It means wholeness. Shalom ultimately and literally means wholeness. And so...
Really?
Yeah. So when people talk about, like we were talking about peace, give peace a chance, a lot of times we're talking about Gaza and things like that. But, I mean, ultimately the reason we have Gazas and Ukraines and Iraqs and Afghanistans is because they're a collection of people that don't have internal peace and believe that if I can get this more land or do this one thing or get this girl or do this, then I'll have peace. So they're broken, incomplete people, and they think that another group of broken, incomplete people are gonna. So if I take this thing, if I like ruin this land and take the shards of this and put this into myself, then I'll be a whole person. So You got to push peace, but the first and most important piece that needs to happen is your own internal peace, man. Because if you have internal peace, if you have true internal peace, then you can give internal peace to the world. If you don't have true internal peace,
Yep.
you're going to leave the world in pieces.
Yep.
Because you're already in pieces. That's why you need shalom. That's free. 9.1, what do you got?
This one was a 10 for me.
Okay.
Quite possibly even 11 because I did not go the death route with it.
Yeah, Soraya was out there all like vibing with the demon, you know.
No, not with the demon. I was having my experience with Jesus.
All manifesting in the room and shit. Sori was just like, yeah, let's go.
That's so
hey,
bad.
Let's
That's so bad. No, I was off with Jesus.
Oh, it's a
and soul,
relationship
whatever.
song. Yeah, the guy's talking about leaving the mortal coil.
Yeah,
Okay,
but then I
commercial
was
break.
getting
We'll
to
be
the
right
part
back.
where they go off and then they go with Jesus, but not in a death sort of way.
Oh, Adam wasn't deceived. I'm Vin.
I'm sorry.